Hello, Kim Dodsworth, Queensland storyteller. Alphonse Daudet, today's author, 1840 to 1897, was born at Nîmes in the south of France. All his life he cherished his beloved birthplace and also the city of Paris. When he was in one, he longed for the other, and vice versa. Today he's largely forgotten, but in his time he was the most successful novelist in France. However, his name still lives on, mainly because of his Letters from My Windmill, Lettres de mon Moulin, which was set in Provence, and from which today's short story, The Beaucaire Stagecoach, was drawn. It was the day I came here. I'd caught the Beaucaire Stagecoach, an old ramshackle conveyance which hasn't a long way to go before it finds its final home, but which dawdles along the roads in order to look as if it has come a long distance when it arrives in the evening. There were 5 of us on the outside, not counting the driver. First, a man from the Camargue, squat, hairy, smelling of the world, with large bloodshot eyes and silver rings in his ears. Then 2 men from Beaucaire, a baker and his journeyman, both very red-faced, very wheezy, but with superb profiles, 2 Roman medallions with the head of Vitellius. Lastly, in front near the driver, a man, a cap, an enormous rabbit-skin cap which said little and looked sadly at the road. All those people knew each other and kept talking about their affairs very loudly and very freely. The man from the Camargue related how he was coming from Nîmes on a summons from the examining magistrate for having stabbed a shepherd with a pitchfork. They're hot-blooded in the Camargue, and at Beaucaire it seemed. Weren't our 2 citizens of Beaucaire wanting to cut each other's throats on account of the Virgin Mary? It seemed that the baker was from a parish long devoted to the Madonna, whom the people of Provence call La Bonne Mère, and who carries the little Jesus in her arms. The journeyman, on the other hand, sang bass in the choir of a quite new church consecrated to the Immaculate Conception, that beautiful smiling image which is represented with outstretched arms, and hands emitting rays of light. The quarrel arose over that. You would have had to see it to believe the way these 2 good Catholics behave to each other and to their Madonnas. "Immaculate! She's a fine one for you to call immaculate. What about you and your good mother? Yours got more than she bargained for in Palestine, all right. And yours, the naughty girl. Who knows what she didn't get up to? You'd better ask Joseph." One needed but to see the flash of knives to believe oneself on the harbour at Naples, and by heavens, I do believe that's how this fine theological foray would have ended if the driver had not intervened. "Ha ha! That's enough of your Madonnas," he said, laughing, to the men from Beaucaire. "Leave that nonsense to the women folk. Men should keep out of it." Upon which he cracked his whip in a slightly sceptical way, which made everybody accept his opinion. The argument had ended, but having got going, the baker had to get rid of his surplus energy, and turning to the miserable cap, silent and sad in his corner, said mockingly to him, "That wife of yours, knife-grinder, which parish receives her favours?" There must have been something funny in this, the way everybody roared with laughter, except the knife-grinder. He didn't appear to have heard. Seeing this, the baker turned to me. "You don't know his wife, monsieur. Some wife she is, all right. There aren't 2 like her in Beaucaire." The laughter was twice as loud. The knife-grinder did not move. He merely said very quietly, without lifting his head, "Shut up, baker." But that devil of a baker had no wish to shut up. He went on worse than ever. "Fool! Any fellow with a wife like that has no call to feel sorry for himself. Never a boring moment with her about. A beauty who goes off with somebody every 6 months. She's always plenty to tell you when she gets back. All the same, it's a strange way to keep a marriage going. Just think, monsieur, they hadn't been married a year, and the wife is off to Spain with a fellow selling chocolate. The husband is left alone at home, weeping and drinking. He's like a madman. After a while, her ladyship is back again, decked out in a Spanish dress with a little drum with bells on it. We all told her, 'Hide yourself, he'll kill you.' Kill her? That was good. They settled down together again, like 2 little doves, and she taught him to play the drum." There was another roar of laughter. In his corner, without lifting his head, the knife-grinder murmured again, "Shut up, baker." The baker took no notice and went on. "Maybe you'll be thinking, monsieur, that when she got back from Spain, her ladyship took things quietly. Not on your life. Her husband had taken it all so well. It made her want to try again. After the Spaniard, it was an officer, then a sailor, then a musician, then a... I can't remember them all. The joke is, each time it's the same old story. The wife goes off, the husband weeps, she comes back, he's himself again. She's always running off, and he's always taking her back. You must admit, a husband like that has patience. Still, you have to take into account she's a real beauty, our little wife of a knife grinder. Good enough for a cardinal. Full of life, attractive, well-shaped. A white skin as well, and nut-brown eyes, always giving the men laughing looks. Yes, by heavens, if you ever pass through Beaucaire again, my fine Parisian... "Oh, shut up, please, baker," came again from the knife grinder, a heart-rending note in his voice. At that moment the coach stopped. We were at the farm of Les Anglos. It was here the two men from Beaucaire got off, and I assure you I didn't try to detain them. Yes, he enjoyed teasing people, that baker. We could hear him still laughing when he was inside the farmyard. With those two gone, the outside of the coach seemed empty. We had left the man from the Camargue at Arles. The driver was walking on the road beside his horses. We were alone up there, the knife grinder and I, each of us in his corner, neither of us speaking. It was hot. The leather of the hood was too hot to touch. Now and then I felt my eyes close and my head became heavy, but sleep was impossible. I could still hear that, "Shut up, please," so woebegone, so subdued. Nor was he sleeping, poor fellow. From behind I could see his big shoulders shuddering, and his hand, a long, pale, simpleton's hand, trembling on the back of the seat, like an old man's hand. He was crying. "Here you are, Parisian! You're there!" The driver shouted up suddenly at me, and with the end of his whip he showed me my green hill with the mill perched on top like a big butterfly. I hurried to get down. As I passed close to the knife grinder, I tried to glance under his cap. I would have liked to see him before leaving. As if he understood my thoughts, the poor fellow flung up his head and looked me straight in the eyes. "Take a good look at me, friend," he said in a toneless voice. "And if one of these days you hear there has been a murder at Beaucaire, you'll be able to say you've met the man who did it." He had a wan, sad face with little shrunken eyes. There were tears in those eyes, but in that voice there was hate. Hate. That's what becomes of the anger of weak men. If I were that knife grinder's wife, I should be on my guard. And that story was The Beaucaire Stagecoach by Alphonse Daudet, 1840 to 1897. I'm Kim Dodsworth, the program Queensland Storyteller. I'll be back again this time next week with another short story of quality. I hope you'll join me. Until then, goodbye.